You think you know all there is to know about horror movies? Well, instead of talking about it, why don't you prove it? Grab your phone and visit app.horrorpubtrivia.com. Try your hand at the best collection of horror movie trivia on the internet. The best thing about it is it's totally free. app.horrorpubtrivia.com.
Everybody, how's it going? I am Mike Cadaver, and I just decided to do a little video that I've been wanting to talk about for a little while. I was going to do a complete retrospective of Jesús Franco, but I do think that that would be way too long for any kind of video, and I'm just trying to make a short one. So I'm going to really talk about, just kind of gloss over a lot of stuff, and I'm going to talk about a DVD box set of Jesús Franco's films that I bought recently. And you know what? Yes, they are. If you can't see it very well, maybe I'll post a picture, but you see it. You get a nice little thing out here. And it's funny because I got them from Full Moon Video, and basically they just shrink wrapped them and sent it to me. Anyways, well, I've been kind of a passive Franco fan. I've always liked movies like Ilsa the Wicked Warden, A Virgin Among the Living Dead from 1973, even Count Dracula from 1970. But I'm also a big fan, if you don't know anything about him, this might be news, but he had a couple of what I would call muses. First of all, he had Soledad Miranda, who was born in 1943, started a few Franco films, including the Franco trilogy. It's kind of called that. I don't know if it's official or not, but Vampire Lesbos from 1971. Yes, Vampire Lesbos, ladies and gentlemen. She Killed in Ecstasy from 1971, and Eugenie de Sade from 1973. That's when they were released, despite having passed away in 1970 in a car wreck at the age of 27. So that's like a huge bummer. But anyway, his second muse was Lina Romay, who was born in 1954. She starred in over 30 of his films that he directed, actually. She passed away in 2010 from cancer at the age of 57. But she was also Franco's common law wife for years before they actually got married in 2008. With only 2 years to live, but I guess at least they got to tie the knot. And she was the filthier of the two muses. Lina Romay was definitely the filthier of the two muses, having done a ton of adult content with and without Franco. She's not shy about showing everything top to bottom, outside, inside. She stars in many of the films in this box set, but we'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, why don't we just get started with who Franco was and some of his history. Jesús Franco was a Spanish filmmaker known for his storied career spanning from the late 1950s to 2010s. He directed, wrote, and sometimes acted in his films. He does have over 200 films that he's worked on, directed, all this stuff. He's not done it just in horror and exploitation and cult. He's done a lot of erotic thrillers, which, by the way, a lot of erotic thrillers, and a lot of thrillers that are very erotic. But no, he's done like spy movies, all sorts of stuff. It started in 1950s, late 1950s, as an assistant director and a screenwriter before he broke through with his first film, The Awful Dr. Orloff from 1962. Even from the early days of his career, he was into erotic horror with a hint of the surreal and ethereal. Once he started making his films, he really created himself a fast-paced momentum, just started cranking them out. Most of his films are fairly low budget. It's the kind we love, though. But they're interesting because they often include a few specific themes. We got sexy vampirism, sexy psychological horror, sexy sadomasochism, sexy women in prison, sexy Nazi exploitation. Maybe I should have skipped the sexy adjective with those last three. Anyway. He often, faced his films being censored because of his content. I'm going to show you real quick. I'm just going to show you a few of these. Can you imagine why these, oh, sorry, I just hit the microphone. Why these would be censored. I mean, this is like 3 in a row. That one, it's not as bad, but man, that's one of the worst ones. We got that one. Okay. I'm going to talk about each of these. Just a little bit. That one. I gotta bring up the nudie hider for that one, and that one, and that one. I don't know. I feel filthy even owning that box set. But anyway, so yeah, censors have been his enemy throughout his whole. Keep hitting the microphone. My bad. Through his whole career. But let's put it this way. I'm not 100% of the films in this were uncensored, but I promise that there's enough stuff in there to satiate your gross and filthy desires. Trust me, I'm feeling really... I hope that, like, nobody ever sees this that knows me, because I would be very embarrassed to admit that I'm such a horn dog. During the 1980s and 90s, Franco continued to make films with decreased budgets as he went along. Despite this, he maintained a devoted cult following. In his later career, he kind of even went a little bit like less production, all this stuff. Did a lot of erotic films, homages to his earlier work, self-referential stuff. My goodness. Self-referential stuff. Oh my goodness. And maybe he always hasn't gotten the respect that he deserves, but I think there's no denying that he's like a huge influence on a lot of filmmakers. To this day, I mean, there's a lot of like super like dreamlike films, and a lot of people are doing that now. I mean, I'm not sure exactly like if directors like Panos Cosmatos had Jesus Franco as a somebody who he looked up to, but I mean, look at it. I mean, he kind of put that in the ether, in the horror and cult movie ether, and it's just kind of been there ever since. Anyways. Like I said, he continued directing into the 2000s. He finally, in 2009, got a Goya, which is kind of a Spanish Academy Award, for a Lifetime Achievement Award, and so finally he did that. But he died in 2013 at the age of 82. Okay, so the box set. For being on DVD, they actually look pretty good, because I mean I've been collecting a lot of 4K and Blu-ray by this point, and I bought this actually because it was very super cheap on a full moon sale. Like, I can't remember if it was the Black Friday sale or the Christmas sale or anything like that, but it was great. And I mean, is it great? It was cheap, and I've watched all these movies, and I'm just saying, you're welcome for that. But with each of these, I mean, it looks pretty good, especially being a DVD. There's a featurette, maybe an interview on each one of them. And so, I mean, they're not completely bereft of extras, but yeah, they're there. So why don't we go over them a little bit? Let's go over them one by one. And just so you know, warning, I've always known that Franco loves naked ladies. I do that. I've known he's into erotic horror exploitation, but I'm not sure if I was ready for this. I've seen a few of these before, but not all of them. Let's go ahead and start with Jack the Ripper from 1976, where Klaus Kinski stars as a respected doctor who secretly becomes Jack the Ripper, stalking and murdering women in the foggy streets of London. This is probably the least sleazy of all of these movies, but that doesn't mean it's nice and clean, because it is not. But Kinski adds a lot to this one, to be honest with you. Barbed Wire Dolls is the second one. A violent women in prison film. Brutal guards, sexual abuse, and rebellious inmate who plots daring escape. I've seen this one before. In fact, I've seen this a bunch of times. And it has a lot of the women in prison trappings, like your shower scenes and your lesbian female warden and all this stuff. And it's just sleazy. Blue Rita. Basically, it's a spy thriller, erotic spy thriller, if you will. Secret club where men are seduced, drugged, and manipulated, because there's a whole female gang out there, and they put it out on the line. So yeah, I've seen that one before too. Love Camp from 1977. Young women are abducted and taken into a jungle camp where they are subjected to brutal training as sex slaves until a revolt changes everything. And if you're catching a little bit of a theme, yes, it is all filthy. It is just awful. I can't believe I'm telling you, admitting to I even watched these. Sexy Sisters from 1977. A mix of supernatural horror, obviously erotic, where two sisters engage in the forbidden desires while being haunted by a mysterious presence. Okay, Swedish Nympho Slaves from 1977, also known as slaves in this box set, but it just has a white slavery ring that kidnaps and sells women into servitude. I mean, the more I read these, the more ridiculous they sound, and it's like, I watched these all in a row too, so I was dead by the end. Marquise de Sade, or A Picture of Doriana Gray from 1976, a surreal and erotic reimagining of the picture of Dorian Gray, where an immortal woman experiences pleasure and pain through her cursed twin. Not a lot happens in this one. That is, unless you include the wall-to-wall sleaze, then a lot of stuff happens because there are a lot of sleaze in this. Last view, women in cell block 9, 1977. A group of women prisoners suffer horrific abuse in a South American prison, but plot their revenge against the sadistic guards. It's kind of a pretty typical women in prison film. Voodoo Passion from 1977. A newlywed woman moves to a tropical island where she becomes entangled in voodoo rituals, murder, and erotic hallucinations. Oh my gosh. Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun, 1977. A young girl is sent to a convent where she discovers a dark world of corruption, sexual exploitation, and demonic influence. They all sound so amazing, right? But they're just all so filthy. It just really is awful. Or great, depending on, like I said, I'm a little embarrassed, that I watch these, but I'm not saying I didn't enjoy them. All right, so a couple of things that you have to know about Jesús Franco, and this goes for a lot of directors, but he basically chooses a lot of the same people for all his movies. In fact, people called this his unofficial repertoire. Lena Romay, out of these 10, she was in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these. Monica Swin, Barbed Wire Dolls, Blue Rita, Love Camp, Women of Cell Block 9, Love Letters of the Portuguese Nun, Martine Stedil, Barbed Wire Dolls, Blue Rita, Love Camp, Women in Cell Block 9, Voodoo Passion, Suzanne Hemingway, who was the Portuguese nun who gave love letters, but she's also in Women in Cell Block 9, Voodoo Passion, Eric Falk, Barbed Wire Dolls, Blue Rita, Love Camp, Women in Cell Block 9, and finally Paul Mueller, Jack the Ripper, and Marquis de Sade, A Picture of Doriana Gray. Okay, so let's talk about the good things real quick. Franco has this just a very specific and wonderful voice in his films. The way he films it, the way he presents the narrative, it's all super dreamy, and it's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just that I feel kind of like his Italian counterparts, he values the look of it a lot. And for instance, even all these, as low budget as they may be, he really found a lot of great places to film these, like lush oceanside forests, all this. And the thing is he loved it, and he found the beautiful women to go in this, because what is a 10-pack of sleazy films without the beautiful women? I'll tell you now that they are nothing. Anyway, but I gotta be honest with you, these are sleazier than I even thought possible. Like I said, it's a little embarrassing, but if you're gonna watch these, I'm gonna say don't watch them all at the same time, because all of it starts to blend together. For instance, there's one of these movies where Eric Falk does a buck naked karate, which I think it's a Blue Rita, but the problem is I can't remember which one it is exactly, because I watched these all in a row, and he was in so many of these. So I just don't want you to be too shocked if you go and grab some of these and whatever. Just watch it, because it could get monotonous. It's kind of like when I watched a bunch of Hong Kong black magic movies in a row. It was crazy. They just all blended it together. It's kind of like this. But to be honest with you, if you're a horror exploitation cult fan, you should already be familiar with Franco. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about him, because that's something on the podcast or on some of the other shows that I've done. As somebody who I've kind of skipped over, we've talked about a few of his movies, but not really gotten into any depth, and not that we really did here either. But I just want to make sure that you guys don't overlook him. I mean, he's got movies like Sexy Sisters and Vampiros Lesbos, and they're all pretty great. Like I said, if you watch them spread out, they're weird. You'll laugh, you'll groan, but you'll have a ton of fun. Anyways, I just wanted to do that real quick. Go ahead and check out corpsecollective.com for everything we're doing, including some of the other videos here on YouTube, podcasts, other stuff like that. Anyways, have a good one.